Okay, so if you've been following the vlog, you'll know that I am currently a suspected case of COVID-19 or the coronavirus. And because of this, a few people have asked me, well, what kind of Qigong should they do if you get symptoms of COVID-19? So that's going to be the topic of this video. And it's going to be a little bit of a different one. Again, I'm going to be doing a screen share to help me talk through some of the points relating to this. So I'll just get that set up now. Hopefully it shouldn't take too long. Okay, Qigong for COVID-19. This is what we're going to be covering in this video. What are the symptoms of COVID-19? My personal experience and diagnosis. General principles of applying Qigong to COVID-19. 4 examples of Qigong practices and how they might relate or interrelate with someone who has COVID-19, and a few takeaways at the end. Okay, so symptoms of COVID-19. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Hopefully most people are familiar with these at this time, and there are many good government or official sources for this online, but just so we know what we're talking about: fever, coughing, shortness of breath. These are the prime 3 symptoms associated with COVID-19. And then a few additional ones: headache, loose bowels, sore throat, and confusion. Now, not everyone will have all of those symptoms, and some of these are very much interrelated with each other. You know, fever and headache often go together. The confusion is really just as a result of the shortness of breath, if someone is not getting enough oxygen to their brain and so on. But these are the main symptoms that you're looking at. Not everyone will have all of them. So personally, my diagnosis, I had all of the symptoms in a mild form. I had fever, I had very mild shortness of breath, some coughing. I had some looseness of my bowels, and not confusion. I didn't have confusion because, again, I didn't have much shortness of breath. But basically, I fit the general picture of the symptom profile. I also fit the risk profile in terms of travel and possible contact with someone who has the virus. And so for that reason, I was tested. Many places in the world, they may not even test you under these conditions. Certainly in New Zealand, where I am at the moment, this is it. It's not enough just to have the symptoms. You need to have the risk profile as well for them to test you. Because the reality is, if you think back to those symptoms, they're actually very common to many common illnesses, many colds and flus. And so just because you have those symptoms does not mean that you have COVID-19. And what we're going to talk about is applicable not just to COVID-19. It's if you have those symptoms, right? If you have those symptoms, what can you do to mitigate them and help yourself to recover? And so finally, I'm waiting for the results. Again, because there's so much testing and things going on, there's a bit of a backlog and a delay in getting the results. They told me I could expect to wait for 5 days, and it's 5 days aren't quite up yet. Overall, my symptoms have been mild though, and that's important as well. Most people who get this, it's not going to be some terrible life-threatening disease for them, but it may be for other people. And the point is that for people with compromised immune systems, the elderly and so on, this has proved to be very, very deadly for some of those. For many others, it may be very mild. Okay, how do some of the general principles apply of using Qigong for this type of symptoms, this type of situation? First, the big point of Qigong for these things is to build your overall vital energy. Hopefully, this is good news for you, because it means that any balance practice will be beneficial. You don't need a bright new shiny thing to help you to deal with COVID-19. if you're already doing a balanced practice, this is going to be building up your overall vital energy. There's been a lot of things circulating, a lot of videos about different Qigong for immunity and things like this, and developing your Wei Qi, which is the Chinese concept of your protective energy. And these are relevant concepts, but they're not the fundamental underlying concept. It's not sufficient to just go, oh, all of a sudden I'm going to do a whole lot of stimulation of my lung meridian because my lung is related to my Wei Qi, and this is somehow going to protect me from COVID-19. It doesn't work that way. If you've some understanding of Chinese philosophy and Chinese medicine, and therefore also Qigong, it's a holistic practice. It's not enough just to strengthen the lungs or any one organ. All of them interact with each other. All of them need to support each other to give you that overall vital energy, which then leads to, well, overall health, but then also the strength of your energy that can give you the protection, the protective energy that you need. So certainly if you have a specific weakness of your lungs or other aspects of your metal element, yes, strengthening that would be helpful. But what you need overall is to strengthen and balance your whole system, all of the interaction between them, to become, to develop the protective chi, the protective energy. Okay, there are some specific things that do relate very much to dealing with if you do have the COVID-19 symptoms, though, and these are general principles, though, rather than so much the specific practices, because again, any balanced practice is going to be beneficial to you. So the first one is circulating energy to avoid stagnation. One of the big problems with COVID-19, and a big part of why it has been so deadly, is this particular virus, it seems, can turn from, what would otherwise be just a cold into pneumonia very easily. And what pneumonia is when mucus and potentially some other substances form inside the lungs and stay still and essentially become hard and create hard blockages within the lungs. Normally mucus should be quite liquid and mobile and should move out easily. When it becomes hard, it obstructs, and then the lungs become more and more damaged. Part of the way this happens is there is the disease process of the virus itself, but the other part is simply through being still, being inactive. This allows quite literally the energy to stagnate, the mucus to sit and be still, and this then allows it to harden as the muscles tighten up and things don't move properly, and this makes it easier for it to turn into pneumonia. So in terms, Qigong is perfect for avoiding this, because what you want, as well as purely fighting the virus, is you want to be able to have some gentle movement that's not going to exhaust you too much, but gently get you moving so that things can move and circulate. Again, the energy can circulate, and quite on a literal level, it can get the mucus and things moving so it doesn't settle, doesn't become stuck and cause blockages which are more problematic. So any kind of gentle moving Qigong practice, specifically ones I guess that work with through the shoulders, the ribs, and through the back to move through this area, is going to be helpful in stopping it from progressing from a cold to pneumonia. Again, this applies particularly to COVID-19, but it applies to other colds and things as well. This is an important principle. When we become sick, of course we want to rest. We're tired and we need rest, but we don't want to just be still and inactive for too long. So we need some gentle activity that's not going to exhaust us, in order so that we can have the benefit of moving things as well, even while we are resting. So intimately related to this is the idea of balancing yin and yang, balancing activity and rest. Our needs in relationship to this are different at different times in our life and what's going on. Sometimes we need lots of activity to stimulate our energy and get things moving. Other times we need lots of rest to recover, but there always needs to be a balance between the two of them. Even if you're doing lots and lots of activity, maybe you're a sports person, you're training, you do all sorts of things, you need the right amount of rest in order to recover and gain the benefit from that. On the flip side, if you're resting to recuperate from an illness, such as COVID-19, could be something else as well, you're generally going to be best off if you don't just purely lie still. That can introduce a whole lot of harm and problems in itself if you just purely lie still. You also want a certain amount of yang, a certain amount of activity in order to mobilize and move things. It's going to be much less in these situations, but you still need some. And so you're going to want to be able to judge for yourself how much you need at different stages of your life, but also of your illness. There may be some stages where you're able to do things that are more active and other stages where you need to rest more, but you should still have some activity to keep things moving, and this will actually help you to recover more effectively. The last thing in relationship to Qigong, and specifically in relationship to COVID-19, it's a general principle as well, and that is the principle of Gong. Gong, and as in Qigong, Qi, energy, Gong, work or skill. The Gong means that you develop it over time. It means work or skill, but the implication is that you practice and it builds up little by little over time. So it's a little bit unrealistic to think I'm going to start doing a magical Qigong exercise and suddenly it's going to magically cure everything or prevent everything just all at once. But by practicing little by little over time, you can improve your overall health, your overall resilience, and over time with practice. Now, that doesn't mean that if you haven't been practicing Qigong already, that you shouldn't start now. It will be beneficial to you if you start now. Even if you're already sick, there will be benefits of moving the energy and so on. But I guess the point is you shouldn't wait until you're sick before you start some Qigong. Starting now, starting early will help to build up your resilience over time, and then you'll be in a much better position if you are compromised with an illness or whatever the situation is, to be able to either fight it off, stop it from happening in the first place, or to be able to recover more quickly and more easily because of what you have built up over your practice. You can think of it much like other kinds of exercise. You don't generally try to go out and run a marathon without, just first day you ever try running. No, you build it up little by little over time. All right, so now I'm going to give you a few examples of some Qigong practices, nice balanced practices that you could use for COVID-19. And what I'm going to tell you is, well, basically 3 practices that you're likely to use and 1 that you're probably unlikely to use. It's probably going to be not so suitable if you already have the virus, but might be good if you don't have it yet, as part of building up your strength and resilience. So the first one, 5 waves. Now with these I will put in cards if I can, which is like a little link that appears up on screen. Otherwise there'll be links down below where you can find free videos of these exercises if you want to try them for yourself. 5 ways, super gentle, super simple. It largely involves, of course the whole body engages to some degree, but it largely involves movement using the arms, and it naturally, very gently moves the chest and the shoulders and the ribs and the back. And this is fantastic. It balances. It's a 5 elements practice, but it's a very gentle one. And so it naturally balances and harmonizes the activity of the different 5 elements or 5 phases of energy. And at the same time, it has this role of mobilizing and moving through this area. So even if you're really feeling pretty sick, pretty unwell, this is the level of gentleness that you're probably still going to be able to do, and this is going to help things to be able to move, and that will help you to be able to recover more quickly if you have got to a bad place with that illness. Another one, here we go. 12 rivers. This is a fantastic set of practices. These are a bit more dynamic than the 5 waves. Again, I will have a link below, maybe a card. But if you in general good health, this is fantastic to do. It stimulates and works through all of the organ meridians in the body. So as that does it, it's supporting and stimulating and helping to clear all of the different organs throughout your body, to help all of them keep healthy, because all of them have a role to play both in your general health and supporting your protective energy, your Wei Qi, your immunity. So really what we want is a balance of health between all of those. Even if you're sick, if you're not too sick, you're likely to find that this is a doable set of exercises, and they but if you become too sick, you may want to lay off this one and do something more gentle for a while. But if you're only moderately unwell, this is going to be useful. It's going to move the energy through, help to support those organs, and help to clear out whatever it is that has been affecting you. Okay. Oh, next one, emotional alchemy. So this is a set of sound practices. So you can find these specifically on the Long White Cloud Qigong website. You can, if you sign up to the email newsletter, you then get sent a link to where you can get a whole lot of information about these and how to do them and how they work, which is really fascinating. Basically, by making the different sounds, again, the sounds go through and they actually vibrate the different organs inside your body. And that vibration, again, vibration is a subtle form of movement. And so it does help to get things moving, and it also helps to keep all of those healthy and strong and build up your overall vital energy and release anywhere where the energy has been blocked or stuck. So those sounds, you think, well, making sound, that must be pretty easy. Again, if you're in moderately, not too severely compromised, yeah, it will be quite easy, but the effects can actually be quite strong, stimulating your organs, stimulating your energy. And if you are severely compromised, and particularly your breathing is struggling, you'll actually probably find that one quite challenging because of the role of the breath and the air support required to make the sound and the vibration. This is precisely why it's so useful if you are able to do it, because it's going to strengthen exactly what you need to strengthen in terms of your lung function, and while also stimulating the other organs. But again, if you're too unwell, you might not be able to do that one, so you might be better sticking with something like 5 waves until you start to get better. And then when you can, the emotional alchemy using those sounds will really help to develop and strengthen your lungs back up again when you're able to. So for myself, these 3 sets of practices are the primary ones that I've been doing the last few days as I have been dealing with essentially some cold symptoms. Is it COVID-19? Don't know yet. Waiting for the test. Does that matter? Not so much in terms of my approach of how I deal with it, because I'm dealing with the symptoms with my overall energy, and this has been certainly very effective for me in helping to get things moving and helping to not let things stagnate too much. Again, I've only had a mild to moderate case. So some people may have it much worse, but for me it has stopped it from getting worse, which has been great. Another kind of practice that I'm going to mention here, wild animal play. Now, while I was overseas, before everything got interrupted by this crazy situation we have in the world right now, I was doing some wild animal play and I was really enjoying it. But the wild animal play, certainly the way we do the wild animal play in the Long White Cloud Qigong practices, is quite dynamic. It's quite active, and that's true of many different schools. Their wild animal plays tend to be a more active, dynamic type of Qigong. These are fantastic as a way of building up strength and endurance and vitality in your body. But for many people, this is going to be too much if you're already sick. It's going to drain your energy too much because you have to put so much energy into the practice, and then you have to recover from it. So if you're fully well, Wild animal play, awesome, build your strength, resilience. If you actually become sick, it might be one that's too strong, and you might want to look at a gentler practice. So again, these are just a few examples. If you are familiar with Long White Cloud Qigong and you've done some of the courses, some of the practices before, you're probably familiar with some of these, and so you might be able to do them straight away. If you're not familiar with them, again, I will have some links. Hopefully you'll be able to follow those. And if you don't do Long White Cloud Qigong at all, you do some other kind of Qigong, again, any well-balanced practice is going to be beneficial to you. And talking about these general principles hopefully will help you maybe to identify within the practices that you already do some practices that are going to be suitable, that will help you both in maintaining your health to avoid getting sick, and if you do have the misfortune, maybe it's not misfortune, to actually be exposed to the virus, to help you to be able to recover and stop it from getting as bad as maybe it could become. Okay, so what are our takeaways from this? Well, the first thing which I need to emphasize, because apparently some people in the world are still not getting the message, we need to follow the recommendations from our governments, from our health organizations to reduce the spread of this virus. It may not affect you badly yourself. Again, the reality is most people who get this virus will not have a life-threatening situation out of it. It may be quite mild to moderate for them. But there are people who are vulnerable who this is proving to be very, very deadly for. So we need to follow those recommendations, even if not for ourselves, for others in our community around us. Another one, start practicing now to develop Gong. If you're not sick now, don't wait until you get sick to start practicing some Qigong. Start practicing now. It's going to both help you to maybe avoid it in the first place, and also if you do get sick, you will have developed more internal resources capacity to be able to recover more quickly, more easily. Practice according to your current energy. I just spent quite a bit of time talking about that one. Match your practice to the level of energy you have. Don't try to push yourself too hard with your practice when you're sick. You need to rest. But equally, don't do nothing either. Do some kind of practice to keep things moving, and you will benefit from that. Online resources. Of course, many of us are in isolation of one sort or another right now. There are tons of good resources out there in YouTube and places like that. There's lots of Long White Cloud Qigong videos out on YouTube and so on. We also have some comprehensive online courses where you go through specific sets of practices and you spend time going deep into them to understand the details and also to develop the Gong. Now, we have been in the process of starting to restructure those courses, but that has all been disrupted by what's going on at the moment now as well. So I am actually looking to, because we often run those, you can do the programs and just in your own time and look through the material and work on it by yourself, but we also often run them as a group, and you can go through with a group and you have Q&A and you can have all your questions answered and things like this to guide you through that process of really developing the Gong, understanding and getting the benefit from those. So again, whether you get sick or not, this is a great thing to do to build your own health and vitality, and also to understand some things about yourself and your energy. So there will be links to where you can find the courses below. Social contact is also going to be really important for people in this time where people are isolated. So you can access things online, that's great, but being able to have some interaction is also really valuable. So I am currently looking into making some live streaming classes available, which there will be some form of interaction, so we can make some connection as part of this, whether that be through typing and some Q&A type thing, or maybe I might be able to get some face-to-face things happening. We will see. I'm just a little bit technically limited given I'm in isolation. I can't go out to sort out any of the details I have, but I'm going to see if I can find a way around that. So these are some options for you. Again, you might already have your own practice, in which case carry on. But if you are looking for something that you'd like to do some more of, I am looking to announce some dates for some groups to go through some of the Long White Cloud Qigong courses. So stay tuned for that. Also, some of those live streaming classes, I'm hoping to be able to announce something pretty soon. So if that's something you're interested in, keep watching this channel. Go to the website, sign up for the newsletter. You will get access to the emotional alchemy sound practices, and also you'll be able to hear about when some of the courses are running, when some of the live stuff becomes available, and so on. Okay, so there we go. Oh, hang on, I'm trying to get back to. Oh, hopefully this is working. Yeah, haven't done too many screen shares before. So hopefully that was interesting to you, and gives you some understanding of how your Qigong practice might fit in with your, if you do become unwell with COVID-19, or in fact just a cold or a flu, some general principles. And this, again, I guess to emphasize one more time, you don't need a bright new shiny thing to deal with this. Most of what we need to deal with this is the same things we use to deal with things in other situations. This particular virus just happens to be much more spreadable and more harmful to the vulnerable populations. So do those common sense things, do your hand washing, do your social isolation, follow the recommendations of the government and health authorities in your area, and if you're interested, maybe some Qigong would be a good thing to add into your health and well-being mix as well. Okay, I look forward to seeing you on the next one.